And remember, knowledge is power, and that was the point that I was getting to, because whenever I type anything and put information out there, I always say knowledge is power. Well, the knowledge can make a difference in what we do, and here the bishop, we sat back and said, what would be the best approach? And a lot of times just diet modification, behavioral modification, or medication. And he says, well, I want to do this natural, I can do this, and you did do it, and it dropped about 50 points just naturally and just changing your diet. So knowledge is power.
No, speaking for many folk who are watching this program who are senior citizens and they're on Medicaid and Medicare, and they're hearing a lot of scary things. Obamacare, is it good or bad? And then we hear that they want to take away Medicaid and Medicare, and then and also Social Security. We're going through some real crazy, wild conversation that's coming out of Congress. What should we be considering, and what is Obamacare? It's hard for me to call it Obamacare because it's a care for the people. But what is it? What is the difference?
Okay. Well, I'll just, because we really need to have an expert that will come in, and we're going to try to have someone come in and try to explain it. It's pretty comprehensive, and even the government, Congress, they don't even know what's going on. Basically, what it boils down to is our country is aging, and as we age, we're living longer. So we have an aging population that's living longer, and that means we have illness. And so the cost to cover the illness increases significantly, exponentially. So they're trying to say, well, how are we going to fund this? Because you need money for health care. And right now they're fighting and trying to figure out a way how they're going to fund the coverage. So do we cut coverage? Do we change the protocol or standards or guidelines? And that's what's happened. They changed some of the guidelines to make it stricter. Some of the medications, they went from we're not covering brand to generic. We're not covering maybe some of the other insurance companies. They won't not necessarily cover a local pharmacy. They want you to go to a larger facility where they're buying by the bulk or the tonnage, where they keep the cost down. So the cost per pill, where it's a mail-away pharmacy. But this is what they're going through right now, and it's a difficult position to be in. You want to provide services, but it's at a price, and that's business in general. Nothing's for free.
Now, you're a physician, and you're connected with all the physicians, and you've been in the medical field for a long time. What would you recommend to the government?
Oh boy. That's tough, because there's so many, there's different, I can go on forever for that. As a primary care physician, I feel that more emphasis should be placed on, as the family practitioner, more emphasis should be placed on evaluation and management skills, and that's my knowledge, versus procedure. America is all about procedures. Those who perform procedures get paid well. Those who educate and actually teach and manage patients and the population's care do not get paid well, and that's why the residents, the medical students, and the young doctors are not going into primary care. We're stuck with these huge bills. Like, I owe $300,000 in my student loans, and I graduated. I am 16 years out of medical school, and I still owe $300,000. You know how much money that is? That's a home. If I went back to Iowa, and for $300,000, you know what type of home I can buy out there?
But is this average, of course, with doctors? People don't know that the doctors coming out of school, that this kind of debt is on them.
No, I read the standards, and they always use a lowball standard. Actually, I'll just give you an example. Let's throw something out there. Let's say you went to NYU or Columbia. For undergrad, that's like $50,000 a year, plus another $15,000 for living. So 4 times 50 times 15.
That's right.
What's that?
Well, that's
260 or something like that?
260, close to $300,000.
Right. That's just for undergrad. Now you go to, let's say they want to be a doctor, they went to medical school. Well, it's going to be the same. So now you graduate, let's say $250,000 for undergrad, and another $250,000 for medical school. That's $500,000 when you graduate medical school. Then you go into residency, you're only making about $40,000 in residency, and you need minimum 3 years residency. And after taxes, you're not going to be paying off that bill because you can't even keep up with the interest. And the interest on student loans are compounded daily. That's how they get us, and they control you with these student loans.
So what you're saying is that to become a doctor, it's very expensive.
Extremely expensive. And then you have to look at the amount of years you're not in the workforce.
You have to pay back all those student loans.
Yes. Well, I can go on forever because this is a real stick.
Sure, I can imagine.
It's like a thorn. I got a stone in my shoe, and it's the size of 300,000. And people want free care. Well, pay off my student loans then.
Is that average what you're saying? In other words, that's a pretty good average.
Yeah. And
it's across the board. Yeah,
it's increasing. Like I said, if you went to an Ivy League school, it's for undergrad and for medical school, you're talking close to $500,000 with interest accruing every single day.
Right.
What type of job? Let's say you became a family practitioner, and you're making only $100,000 a year. A lot of people are like, well, it's $100,000. Well, after taxes, it's not much, and you're still not making enough to put away for retirement, and you're not making enough to pay off that loan. You're not going to be able to buy a house to live the American dream. You need clothes, you need a car, you want to be able to go out and enjoy yourself. Not to mention, you sacrifice, and a lot of my friends, you didn't sacrifice. No. If I gave up doing things I enjoy to become a doctor, that's a sacrifice. For me, you're out of the workforce for 10, 15, almost 15 years, where you're not networking, you're not building self-work. Yes, you are becoming educated, but you just accrued almost a $500,000 bill that you can't pay off.
Now, so here's where dedication really comes in. Then.
Yes.
And that's why I thank God so much for you. And when you get frustrated, the pastor is here for you, pray for you, and counsel you. Yeah, folks, doctors need to be loved and understood. That's the point that I'm getting here. And then pastors need to reach out for them, and we need to understand what they're going through, so that when they are ministering to us, we can take note of it and appreciate it. And when we have to pay our bills, know that it's important to pay the bills so that they can keep the practice going.
Right.
And so it's a whole area that and I did that purposely because I want our folks to be sensitive to understanding what is the plight of the doctor, what does he go through, what is he all about, so as they go in and they're getting treated, they can appreciate that doctor who's dedicated. Now they're not all dedicated.
Right. Well, it's medicine has changed, where the golden years are long gone, where doctors did extremely well. I always say, back then, majority of doctors did well, and very few didn't do well, and usually it's because your bedside manners, and you just weren't that good. Now, very few do well, and majority of us are just barely making it, and that's because of, like I said, the expenses that are accrued to become a physician, the number of years, and then you have the insurance companies, because medicine is humanitarian, but it's also a business, and the business aspect, you really have to have business knowledge, and we're not taught business in medical school. We're given one class, and it's really a joke just to get us through it. So they met some sort of standard. Say, okay, they got a business class, but you really need an MBA in business and in finance to run a business. And medicine is a business now. And unfortunately, people don't want to hear that. But when I start going over numbers, my overhead, and how much money I have to generate an hour and a day and a month.
Well, they need to be fortunate like you to have a fiance that's a CPA. So you don't even have to worry about that.
That's my business.
She takes care of your business manager. Well, I know you want to mention a new show that's coming up, something exciting that we're going to do, because we're going to get into an area that we started, and we want to really put a asterisk on it, so that this particular situation really has to be attended to.
Right. Well, we're going to finish up the cyberbullying series. I'm going to have one of my buddies come in. He's going to fly in from Iowa, Dr. Patrick Petroche. He was here a few years ago when we did a show. We're going to talk about suicide, and if we are lucky, we will have one of the community affairs.
Inspector, 44th Precinct, and they're sending over a community relations person that deals with internet fraud.
Cyberbullying and internet fraud, because that's the unit there. So if we're lucky, we're going to have 2 shows to finish out this series to really enrich the community, so you can get a sense of what's going on and what our local police department is doing, as well as from a physician's perspective, a psychiatrist, and we'll talk about the suicide and how it's affecting our community.
I just want to mention this. Now, we don't have time for this talk about it, but coming up on the screen, there's some important dates that are coming up, and we want you to adhere to them. There's some information about your tax return, information about a medical plan that will help you, those who don't have enough coverage. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
Shoot.
I know, because I even had more information.
Yeah.
We had more information here we didn't even cover, but we'll cover it in another show.
Exactly.
But actually, let me just say this, because I do cover HIV, because that's what, my office.
Sure.
But if you want to learn about HIV, phenomenal website. And it's very comprehensive, and the language used that is in layman's terms. So you can visit this website. I love this website. I was introduced to this from one of my patients. So if you're a provider, listen to your patients, because a lot of times they do have knowledge that you can use. The website is thebody.com. So thebody.com, and that will talk about HIV and all the current trends and the language used. Excellent. I love it. It has really good information. So we have to wrap up this show.
Yes, we do. Unfortunately. Well, God has been good.
Yes.
And we thank you, the audience, for really, embracing us. And I speak for myself as the Bishop of the Bronx, and Dr. O'Brien. You have the last. I guess you have the last few moments.
That's it. Well, we only have about a few seconds. Anyway, we just have to wrap up the show. And again, Bishop, I want to thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for allowing me to be here and enrich the community.
Right.
So, like I always say, stay live with Church Alive. Make a difference in the community. Knowledge is power. Freeport High School, class of '82, thinking of you. God bless.